Vanakkam and welcome to an art called storytelling. The next 1 minute of this podcast is going to be in my mother tongue, Tamil. If you do not understand Tamil, I apologize. At the same time, I'm glad that you'll be able to listen to a language that you haven't listened to before. நீண்ட நாட்களுக்கு அப்புறம் ஒரு எபிசோட் கதைகள் சொல்கிறதுக்கான மனநிலையும் சந்தர்ப்ப சூழ்நிலையும் ஏற்படாமல் இருந்த ஒரு காலம். ஆனால் இப்போ மறுபடியும் இதை தொடங்கிறதுக்கான நேரம் வந்துருச்சுன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். நான் இந்த சேனலோட இன்ட்ரடக்டரி பாட்காஸ்ட்லேயே சொல்லியிருப்பேன். இந்த சேனல் ஸ்டோரி டெல்லிங்கை பற்றி, லிட்ரேச்சர், ஃபோட்டோகிராஃபி, சினிமா மூணுத்தை பற்றியுமே பேசுவோம் அப்படின்னு. இந்த எபிசோடில் நம்ம ஊரில் எடுக்கப்பட்ட படங்களை பற்றி பேச போகிறேன். இதை பற்றி பேசுகிறதுக்கான காரணமே உலகமெங்கும் இன்னும் நிறையா மக்கள் இந்த படங்களை பார்ப்பாங்க அப்படிங்கிற காரணத்தினால தான். அதனால் இந்த சீரீஸ் ஆஃப் எபிசோட்ஸ் முழுக்க முழுக்க இங்கிலீஷ்லேயே இருக்கு. ஸோ நவ் தட் ஐம் டன் வித் மை தமிழ் சீக்ரெட்ஸ், வெல்கம் டு ஆல் மை இங்கிலீஷ் ஆடியன்ஸ். ஸோ இஃப் யூ நியூ டு திஸ் சேனல், what is this channel about? It's called an art called storytelling. So I think it's self-explanatory, but it doesn't harm to elaborate a little bit. I've been consuming literature from my childhood, and it continues till today. And right from my childhood, I've been watching films of all sorts. And in the last 6-7 years, I've also started practicing photography. And it's only recently that I realized that one thing that's common to all three of these is storytelling, and that's probably why I gravitated towards all these three art forms over the period of maybe 15-20 years. So all of us love stories, right? At least I think most of us do. And when we think about why it is so, stories let us experience what we cannot experience in our lives, because what we can experience on our own is pretty limited. But through these art forms, literature, or be it cinema or photography, what these art forms enable us to do is experience a subset of all the possible stories from the past, from the present, from the future, or a story could also be someone's pure imagination. But what it essentially does is lets us experience a lot of things, like how it would be to live in another city across the planet, or what kinds of traditions and cultures, what lifestyles that people there might have, and hence it lets us travel without leaving your house. And more importantly than that, what any good art does to us is that it impacts us intellectually and emotionally, and shows us perspectives that we might have probably not seen by ourselves, and it lets us ask questions about the society, about the people around us, about the way we live. At the end of the day, what it does is it provides us with a chance or opportunity to learn about ourselves, to learn about the society we live in, to learn about life. So storytelling has always been a big passion of mine, and this channel is about exploring storytelling through the art forms of literature, photography, and cinema. If you scroll back and look at the past videos on this channel, you'll see a lot of narrations in Tamil of short stories from throughout the world. I'm a great sucker for Russian literature, so you'll find a lot of episodes on short stories by Russian authors, Russian classics, a little bit of American literature, and also quite a bit of Tamil literature. I do hope, and I am planning on doing these narrations in English, so that people who do not understand Tamil can also listen to all these wonderful, beautiful classical stories from Tamil literature. But for now, here is a series on cinema in English. So what's this episode all about? As I had mentioned earlier, I've been watching films since my childhood. And initially it was about watching Indian films. And at one point, when globalization and westernization hit me, I moved on to watching Hollywood films and did the entire usual round. And what does that list look like? Quentin Tarantino, Martin Scorsese, David Fincher, Spielberg, Christopher Nolan, Guy Ritchie, Wes Anderson, Hitchcock, Coen Brothers, and so on and so forth. And once you're done with that and you feel saturated, what do? I myself went on to watch world cinema, like films of filmmakers such as Inarritu, Alfonso Cuarón, and Del Toro, predominantly Mexican filmmakers. And at one point, it was Iranian films like those of Jafar Panahi and Abbas Kiarostami, and so many other films from filmmakers from all around the world, like Wong Kar Wai or Tarkovsky or Roman Polanski or Stanley Kubrick. And talking about variety, if you had been stoned enough with your friends, at some point or the other, you would have watched films like Samsara or Baraka. But what after that? What next? At that point in my life, Mubi entered. So Mubi is a streaming platform which has a lot of films by independent filmmakers from throughout the world. So a few years back, when I was saturated with it all and I wanted something fresh and new, I started watching a lot of films by independent filmmakers from Mubi. And there was this one year when I watched 72 films. So in this series, I'm going to be talking about these independent filmmakers, their films, what I liked about those films, and probably also why you should be watching these films. So let's get started and talk about the first film on the list, which is Mosquito Philosophy, directed by Jayaprakash Radhakrishnan. Now, JP's entry into cinema and filmmaking is rather very interesting. He was working as a software engineer in the USA when he discovered his passion for acting. So he went to an acting school and eventually returned back to India, Tamil Nadu, with the hopes of becoming an actor. And JP calls himself an accidental director because he started directing films out of the frustration of not getting the right kinds of roles to satiate his hunger for acting. So he went ahead and directed his debut film titled Lens, which talks about pornography, consumption of pornography, and the ill effects and repercussions that it could have on individuals in the society. If you haven't watched this film, I would highly recommend you to go and watch it because it's a very bold film for a debutant. But in this episode, we'll be talking about The Mosquito Philosophy. Now, The Mosquito Philosophy is a film that revolves around a set of four Indian men in their late 30s and early 40s who meet up in one of their friends' house to have a drinking session and chill. During that session, one of the friends reveals that he has decided to get married to make his mother happy. And this marriage is an arranged marriage. This reveal triggers a whole set of opinions and reactions that the rest of his friends give him. And the rest of the film deals with whether he continues to go ahead with his decision to get married or not. What is so special about this movie? Firstly, this is a movie that is directed without a script. Mosquito Philosophy came out of JP's frustration of not being able to find producers or not being able to raise enough money to make his own film. So JP decided that he would make a film right in his house while all his friends gather to have a drinking session. Now, this does two things to the film. Firstly, the way the drama builds up is extremely natural. It, because of the fact that it was not scripted, the film achieves a kind of realism that would have been unachievable with a script. Secondly, why I love the film is it really gives us the feeling of a friends gathering in a very authentic manner. Anyone who meets up with his or her friends would immediately connect with the film because of the realistic and naturalistic tone that it creates. Now, these kinds of films belong to a genre called mumblecore. Of course, I didn't know such a genre existed until I watched this film. So, making a film such as Mosquito Philosophy in Tamil is by itself an achievement, in my opinion, because I don't think there has been any other mumblecore film in Tamil cinema so far. The other inspiring aspect of this movie is the motivation behind wanting to make such a film. A lot of us have stories with us we might want to present to an audience in the form of a film. Now, we might not have the budget to present it in a very standard commercial format. But what this film and JP has conveyed to us through this film is anyone with a story can and a decent camera can go ahead and make a film and present it to the audience. I just love his quote where he said in one of his interviews, if you want to make a movie, go make a movie and upload it on YouTube, and you're also a filmmaker. And this film was made with a budget of 100,000 rupees, Indian rupees. So this definitely is an inspiration to a lot of young filmmakers and youngsters who have stories and who are desperate to present it to the audience in a visual format. While I watched Mosquito Philosophy a few years back on Mubi, currently it's not streaming on Mubi, and the only place you can watch it is on Amazon.com Prime Video. But what you can do is watch his third film, Thalaikoothal, which is streaming currently on Netflix. Now, Thalaikoothal revolves around the concept of Thalaikoothal itself, which is a practice of euthanizing ailing elderly men or women in the house, which is practiced in certain regions of Tamil Nadu. The protagonist of the film has an ailing father who's bedridden and in coma. Now, the protagonist faces the conflict of, on the one hand, having to take care of his bedridden father, and on the other hand, facing issues of poverty and not having enough money to take care of his father and raise his family. So, what is it to be alive or dead? When do you consider someone alive? When do you consider someone dead? Even if one's father is in coma, bedridden, and for all practical purposes dysfunctional and dead, would you consider him alive and let him continue living? Or would you consider him dead and euthanize him? And if you euthanize him, would you feel okay about it, or would you feel like you have committed a murder, and not just murder, but killing your own father at that? So this film is full of symbolism and raises a lot of questions and tries to answer a few and lets the audience answer or address the rest of the questions for themselves. So I was lucky and fortunate enough to meet JP and have a conversation with him. So we spoke about his approach to filmmaking, his script writing process, his interest in other art forms, and we specifically spoke about his three films starting from Lens, The Mosquito Philosophy, and his latest release, Thalaikoothal. I will release this interview as a full episode, and this will be the next episode. But meanwhile, if you still haven't watched Thalaikoothal, I would highly recommend you to get into Netflix and watch this film. And please do let us know your comments and opinions about the film in the comment section below. I will see you in another episode with another indie film. Until then, கதைகள் கேட்போம், கதைகள் சொல்லுவோம், கதைகளை கொண்டாடுவோம். Oh, wait, I'm sorry. What I meant was, let us all listen to more stories, let us all share our stories with others, and let us celebrate stories.